Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 3 of this series where we analyse each AFL club's 2024 season, including their fixture, breakout stars, and setting a realistic passing mark. And today we have the Carlton Footy Club. Now, the transition of the Blues has been pretty significant since Michael Voss took charge. Obviously, they were the laughingstock of the competition for many years, but they finally entered the season as a huge premiership contender. Provided the second half of last year was an indication of how they play for 2024, they should be right up there, and it should be a very promising season for all Blues fans. So we've already done a best 22 video, so go check that out in the description. But for now, let's look back at their 2023 and see what lies ahead for them in 2024.
In 2023, Carlton finished 5th on the ladder with 13 wins, 1 draw and 9 losses. But I think apart from their fairy tale run in the second half of the season, the real talking point was their middle portion of the season where they played absolutely horribly. It all started with a 56-point loss to Adelaide in Gather Round at Adelaide Oval. And then from there, they lost to the Saints, the Lions, the Dogs, the Pies, the Swans, the Demons, and then Essendon, before turning it around with a really strong, comprehensive win against the Gold Coast at the MCG in round 14. So from round 14 until their exit in the prelim final, they only lost 2 games. But those finals were probably 2 of the best finals wins you could have hoped for as a Blues fan. But on the whole, considering where they were in round 13 after that really bad string of form, I think Blues fans will consider the season a great success. I don't think any of them could have even dreamed of being in a prelim final with how they were halfway through this season. So despite how close they came to a grand final, it's a good stepping stone, and it really set the tone for how they need to play in 2024 to get back to that stage again. So for their fixture, it was ranked the 8th hardest. They got 2 byes in round 2 and round 14 and plenty of prime time. So 7 of the 14 scheduled games are a Thursday or Friday night, so 50%. They got trips to Adelaide twice, 1 for Gather Round, 1 against Port. They go to Sydney twice, 1 against the Swans and 1 against the Giants. And they also travel to Perth to play West Coast. In terms of double-ups, they play Collingwood, GWS, Port Adelaide, Geelong, Richmond and North Melbourne twice. Collingwood, obviously not a team you want to play twice. The reigning premiers, they'll be very hard to beat, and they'll go a long way to backing it up. I think they should get to the pointy end once again, so definitely not a team you want to be playing twice. GWS, we saw how they played in the finals last year. I definitely would not want to be playing GWS twice. They are probably one of them, if not the most dangerous team in the competition coming into 2024. They don't have a single hole in their list. They play fantastic footy, and I think they're just going to get better pretty much. So definitely don't want to be playing GWS twice. Port Adelaide, you really don't know how they're going to go. They could slip a little bit, or they could be right at the top 4 yet again with all the people they've picked up in the off season. So it's a bit of a wait and see on that one. It could be a decent double up, but time will tell for that. Geelong, you say every year you think they should be sliding, but they just find a way to get back in the 8. Last year they obviously missed the finals for the first time in God knows how long. So you should never write Geelong off, but that list, it just doesn't look too convincing on paper. So it's probably one of the better ones you could get. Then Richmond and North Melbourne, that should be 4 easy wins for the Blues. Richmond will be on the decline most likely, depending on how Adam Uze plays with the team. And North Melbourne, they've been a laughingstock for many, many years now. They're getting all the help from the AFL that may or may not be fair. Picked up some great players in the draft. They should improve a bit, but I still think they'll be towards the bottom end of the ladder. So that should be 2 wins for the Blues there. They play 17 total games in Melbourne, including 6 of the last 7, which is very kind. And, on the whole, this is a very, very kind fixture, I would say. considering they were in a prelim final last year, the trips aren't too bad at all proximity-wise. Plenty of prime time, as I've mentioned before, and they're very lucky to be playing Richmond and North Melbourne twice. As I mentioned, should be 4 free wins for them. So the pressure's really on for them to perform. With a fixture like this, there's really no reason they can't go all the way to the grand final in 2024. Now, I've listed 3 breakout players, and there's really 3 standouts based on what I saw last year. Number 1, Jesse Motlop. He played 21 games last year and kicked 24 goals. He just seems to pop up out of nowhere when the Blues need him. So in that sense, he sort of reminds me of a Bobby Hill type player. The one criticism I do have for him is his consistency. Obviously, being a pressure forward, he is prone to going missing for a long period of time before going on bursts of brilliance. So I'd like to see him contributing more often over a greater period of time. But if he does this, there's no reason why he can't be one of the best small forwards in the competition. We've seen glimpses of his potential against Port Adelaide at Marvel, where he kicked 4 goals, and against the D's in the 2023 finals, where he kicked 2 crucial goals. So the world's looking good for him in the next season. Ollie Hollands is another one. He's just a workhorse. He has the heart and determination that's rarely seen in a first-year player. With some decision-making he does in big moments, pretty much far beyond his years. I would say he has as much upside as pretty much any young gun in the competition with what he's shown so far. Once he bulks up a bit, he should definitely find himself in the guts more, trying to win his own ball. His elite running tank makes him very similar to Sam Walsh, I think. Who we all know is one of the most promising midfielders in the competition. So the sky is the limit for Ollie. And finally, Brodie Kemp. He finally got a good run in the Carlton side after only 6 games in the previous 2 years. He's a beautiful kick, beautiful mark. He's always looked very composed while coming out of the back line. He was unfortunately dropped for that prelim final against the Lions, but I think he should be in the side in round 1, or round 0 rather. Probably replacing Boyd, who got the gig ahead of him for that prelim. Now, for the big conclusion, the passing mark. We all know Carlton are absolutely in the window, and for 2024, a pass mark for them, I would say, is definitely top 4, pushing for a premiership. They've been around that 8 for a couple of years now, obviously losing in heartbreaking style to Collingwood the year prior, just finishing 9th and then making the 8 this year. So I think they've set the benchmark for how they need to play in 2024 to finally get into the top 4, which is sort of the next step. The only thing that would sort of worry me for Blues fans is their form before round 14 in 2023. If they dish that up again, the whole narrative will change, and it could be a very underwhelming year. So they really do need to show that they can play how they did in the second half of the year more consistently, and I'm backing them in to do so. So as a fan base, if I were a Blues fan, I definitely see a very bright year. With a generous fixture and potential breakout of many young stars supporting their already established guns all over the ground, it should be a very, very good year for them. As we saw in the Best 22 video, they have a very strong list, and I think it'll do a lot of damage, not only now, but many years into the future with the young crop they got coming through. Their forward line is in great shape, led by Curnow and Mackay. When Mackay decides to kick goals, I guess, straight, they're probably the best 1-2 punch forward line in the competition. But what's really important is they really have those pieces around them who can kick goals, such as Motlop, Jack Martin, De Koning, as well as their mids kicking some goals when needed. Chera pops up in there a lot, kicks a few. Walsh and Cripps, when they really need it in there, they kick a few crucial goals. So it's all looking good in the forward line. Speaking of the others, their midfield, led by those Cripps, Walsh, Chera types, obviously very strong as well. They've got plenty of pinch hitters in there too, such as George Hewitt, Hollands, as mentioned before, and De Koning to back up Pitnet. So they can provide some support when the others are on the bench. And their wingers are absolutely A-grade. They got Blakers and either Doherty or Hollands, depending on where Doherty plays. So this is probably one of the best midfields on paper. So they need to continue to work hard to translate it onto on-field domination. Their backline, I'd say, is probably their biggest worry. You know, they got Wiedering, Doherty, Sard, and Newman, but not real defined stars elsewhere. They experimented a bit with the half-backs in 2023. You know, they gave debuts to Lockie Cowan and Chincotta, but I think it lacks a bit of dynamic, and they really need a few of their young players in there to have good seasons if they are any chance of going far. So, overall, you know, the Blues are in great shape. They should be finishing top 4 realistically. I definitely think they should make it far into the finals as well and have a very, very good crack at the flag, which they came so close to in 2023. However, as mentioned before, it all really matters on which version of Carlton show up. Will it be pre-round 14 or post-round 14? It all remains to be seen. It'll be very intriguing to watch them for season 2024. So that's all I have for the Blues. As mentioned many times, check out our Best 22 video in the description for an idea of who we have making their final team. And that's it. Join us next time as we analyse Collingwood for season 2024. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.